talk about that later. Huge day in Parliament yesterday. Of course, it was no laughing matter. In fact, for some of the members of Parliament, it was a crying matter yesterday. Our politicians join us to talk about that and other political things. Ed Husic from Labour, Josh Frydenberg from Liberal. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Paul.
Josh. Good morning, Ed.
It was a huge day yesterday, Ed. Do you think that this country came any closer yesterday to solving the asylum seeker problem?
I think we took an important step, but there's still a way to go. I think it was important yesterday, and I think also just from a community perspective to see the depth of not only feeling but also the depth of thought that's been applied to this issue as well by people across the chamber. I mean, we do have our differences, but I do respect the fact that in having those differences, people come to them in their own way, and I just hope now that we can actually get to a point where we can do whatever we can to ensure that people who try to profit off desperation don't have those means to do so, and as a result see people lose their lives. I mean, I'll just make this quick point. I'd have to say this debate would be well and truly transformed if these, and I wouldn't want to wish this anywhere, but you know, if these events were within major capital cities, I imagine the political debate would be completely transformed.
What do you mean if we could all see it happening?
Well, because I just think that, you know, I actually worry sometimes that because this is out of place, out of sight, that we don't actually see that these policy decisions have concrete ramifications,
the individual
that
tragedies
need to be dealt with.
Yeah. Josh, do you think that Oakeshot's bill, even if it does pass, which of course it won't, but even if it does get through the Senate, do you think it will actually be the panacea? Will it make a difference?
No, I don't, Paul. I think it was a very emotional day yesterday. This is a very difficult issue, but we are firmly against the Malaysian solution. We're against it because the High Court ruled it invalid. Malaysia is not a signatory to the UN Refugees Convention. They don't protect human rights, and women and children are excluded from this deal, from the Malaysian solution. So what's going to happen is that the people smugglers are going to send many women and children on the boats, and more will lose their lives. Plus, it's capped at 800 people only. And so these people smugglers that trade in people are just going to send innocent refugees across the borders, and they are going to quickly reach that 800, and then we're going to be back to square one.
All right. I mean, I'm right in saying, Ed, aren't I, that there is no way this is going to pass the Senate?
Well, I still don't rule anything out insofar as the Prime Minister said we need to reach some sort of decision point on this before the Parliament rises for its 6-week break. And we are certainly focused on trying to get an outcome.
But that can't happen, can it? Because the Greens have said they definitely won't support it. The Coalition have said they definitely won't support it, so it definitely won't pass.
Well, I think we're all on a journey on this issue insofar as there might have been initial views we had about the way to manage this issue, and through the, you know, once evidence becomes clear, we've gone, no, okay, clearly this doesn't work. And with Greens and their supporters, I'd say this one thing. We have onshore processing effectively at the moment. This policy not only does it not work, it has terrible consequences.
It leads people to their death.
So we are required and compelled to look at things differently.
And of course, people who are watching, who are just waking up now, might not be aware that at 9 o'clock last night, another asylum seeker boat arrived at Christmas Island, and it's moored off the island. Right, let's move on. Busy night for you. After a busy day in Parliament, you both went to the Federal Parliamentary Press Gallery Midwinter Ball. We've got some pictures of it now. Perhaps, Josh, you could start by telling us how wonderful it was.
Look, it's always a gala event to see journalists and politicians and lobbyists come together. There was some real humour, there was some singing, but I left before people started tearing up the dance floor, unfortunately. But it's always a great event, and both Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott spoke very well.
We've just actually seen, Ed, a picture of Julia Gillard. She looked gorgeous in her sort of shimmery, dinky dress.
Yeah, everyone definitely scrubbed up well. I think the other great thing about it was, and I have to take my hat off to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. They've raised over $2 million over the 13 years that they've done this, and in particular last night $300,000 to some really great causes, and it was amazing to be there for that.
Was it fun? Neither of you are talking like it was fun. Did you get a bit liquored up and have any fun?
Look, had a
Josh,
beer.
you can answer that.
Was there with.
Oh, you had a beer.
I had a beer. I was
Sounds
there
good.
with my wife and caught up with some friends. But as you said, yesterday was a very emotional day in the Parliament,
Yeah.
and I think that took its toll on all of us. And we still have the issue unresolved. So I think there's some big.
So it was a bit of a downer going into the ball.
Well, I think it was unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Just very quickly, did either of you meet? Two questions. Did either of you meet Buzz Aldrin, and if you did, is he stark raving mad?
I didn't meet him,
get a
but
chance to-
he's certainly a legend.
He is a legend, yeah.
Yeah, he was a few tables down from me, just out of reach, so I didn't get to see him, and he was certainly having a lot of people flocking around him.
Yeah, because, I mean, after all, he did set foot on another planet, so he's interesting. But you know, if you ever do get an opportunity to talk to him, he is quite crazy.
Okay, I'll play that.
Just from each of you, one quick line. You're about to take a 6-week holiday. What are you going to do, Ed?
Out in the community.
All right, that
You
was
asked me
very
one
quick.
line.
No, I know. It
No,
was
I'm
a very.
out,
that was
actually,
only
next
half
week
a
I've got
line.
a series. I've got a series of mobile offices where I go into neighbourhoods in my electorate. So I'm looking forward to that. But at the tail end, I have to say, I'm looking forward to the fact my wife is expecting our first child. So it's going to be a busy time.
Fantastic! Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm planning my holiday, and I'm thinking of seeing if I can afford a mobile electorate office. Spend 6 weeks in that. Josh,
come and talk to me after the show. I'll give you my card.
I'll borrow yours, but I'll have to repaint it a different colour. Josh, one line on your 6-week holiday?
Look, I'm both in the electorate and I'm also going overseas for the Australian-American Leadership Dialogue, which is a bipartisan dialogue with American Republican, Democrat,
Fantastic.
Labor and Liberal people. So it should be interesting.
Won't get better than that. I'd like to put them both inside an MRI machine and film it. Ed
You
Husick,
and
Josh.
MRI machines, Henry. It's
I
getting
know.
really disturbing.
I know it is, isn't it? It's my friend who taught me all about them. Ed Husick, Josh Frydenberg, thank you very much for joining us. Here is my friend now,
Thank you very
Andrew.
much.